Ever get that feeling when you're at a restaurant and the food shows up looking nothing like what you pictured from the menu? Like, what do you even do in that situation? Well, get ready, because today we're going to be experts in handling all those tricky restaurant moments.
We sure are. Today, we're diving deep into how to not just survive, but really thrive in any dining experience, no matter what gets thrown at you. And get this, our inspiration comes straight from an English language learning podcast.
You heard that right. But trust me, this isn't your average language lesson. Picture a hilarious, kind of awkward conversation between a waiter and one seriously unhappy customer.
It's like a masterclass in what not to do. But here's the thing. It's incredibly valuable because it highlights those cultural nuances around food and service, things we often don't even realize.
Yeah, I mean, this customer's throwing out words like overcooked, even complaining about a measly sliver of duck liver.
And hey, those terms definitely get the message across, right? Yeah. But this podcast, it challenges us to go beyond just the basics. It's about understanding the subtle differences between, say, runny versus over-seasoned. Using the right language can make you a much more effective communicator.
So it's about more than just complaining, but doing it eloquently.
Absolutely. It's about becoming a more informed, more discerning diner. Imagine this. You order your steak medium rare, but it arrives basically well done. Being able to clearly articulate that difference, well, you're not just complaining then, you're advocating for your own culinary satisfaction.
Oh, been there. It's like trying to explain the perfect shade of lipstick sometimes. You need those precise terms.
Exactly. But here's what I found fascinating. The podcast talks about how even the simplest phrases, they can carry different meanings depending on the context, on the culture.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, they highlighted the phrase, I do apologize. Adding that do, it injects this extra layer of sincerity into your complaint without sounding overly formal.
I can see that, especially in a tense situation. But how does culture play into all of this?
Well, think about doggy bags. Some cultures, it's almost offensive to leave food on your plate, let alone ask for a doggy bag, right? But then in other cultures, it's totally expected, even encouraged.
You know, now that you mention it, I remember traveling abroad and feeling like I was committing some kind of food crime by not finishing everything. No one told me it was a no-no.
And that's exactly what can trip us up, those unspoken rules. And that's the real gem of this podcast. It pushes us to think beyond the food itself, to consider the whole cultural context of our dining experiences.
It's like learning this secret language, right? And it can make or break your whole restaurant experience. But it's more than avoiding a faux pas, isn't it? I mean, this deeper understanding, it actually enhances how we enjoy different cuisines, different cultures.
Absolutely. By recognizing those subtle differences, we become more mindful, more appreciative diners. We start to understand that even a simple meal, it's like a window into a culture's history, its values, its traditions.
It's incredible what you can learn from a single episode of a language podcast.
And we're just getting started. What are some things that have stood out to you so far? Have you ever bumped into those cultural differences while dining out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just about different countries. Even in the same city, you can find totally different dining cultures.
Yeah.
Like, I once went to this tiny hole-in-the-wall ramen shop and slurping your noodles. Practically mandatory.
It's amazing how those unwritten rules can really throw you off guard.
Right.
But it makes you think about the whole power dynamic in a restaurant.
Oh, interesting.
Which this podcast, it actually touches on that.
Okay.
And I think it's something worth exploring a bit more.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. I always thought of the customer as, holding all the cards.
Right.
But I'm guessing it's not quite that simple.
It's definitely more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we often walk into a restaurant with this customer is always right mentality.
Right.
And while there's some truth to that, we're going to remember, we're interacting with a whole team of people,
right,
each with their own role, their own perspective.
Yeah, you've got the waiter caught in the middle, trying to keep everyone happy.
Exactly.
The customer, the kitchen.
Right.
And then there's the chef, the artist back there we rarely see.
Right.
But we're so quick to judge their work.
Exactly. And just thinking about those different perspectives can totally change how we approach dining out.
Okay, yeah.
Like, imagine the chef as this artist presenting their creation to you.
Yeah.
Might make you hesitate before sending a dish back without a really good reason.
That's a really good point. It's like going up to a painting in a gallery and saying, can you change the colors?
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between being a discerning diner and respecting the craft, the effort that goes into your meal.
Yeah, and it makes you think about those times when the food really is bad.
Right?
Like, objectively, something's not right.
Yeah.
Finding something in your food, you shouldn't have to deal with that.
Right, absolutely.
Then it's not about personal preference.
It's about, yeah.
It's about making sure they're meeting basic standards.
Exactly. And that's when those communication skills we talked about are crucial.
Right.
Knowing how to express your concerns clearly but respectfully makes a huge difference.
It's almost like you need a script for those situations.
Right.
But even with the best communication skills, things go wrong sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do we as diners navigate that with a little grace, a little understanding?
Well, I think, remembering everyone messes up sometimes. Chefs have bad days.
Sure do.
Waiters, they're human.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just go sideways in the kitchen.
Happens.
And just that starting point, a little empathy can make a big difference.
Oh, for sure. Getting angry never really helps.
Right. It almost never does.
It just makes things worse.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Advocating for yourself, but being understanding.
Right.
And, sometimes a little humor can really disarm a situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Turn it around.
I had a waiter once spilled an entire tray of drinks on me.
Oh, no.
Drenched. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, gosh.
But he was so apologetic, and we both just ended up laughing about it.
That's great.
It's a funny story now, but at the time,
Oh, I bet.
mortifying.
Yeah. But those moments, those shared kind of awkward situations,
Yeah.
they can become the most memorable parts of a meal.
He really can. Adds a little spice, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly. But on a more serious note, I think this whole conversation, it highlights something crucial.
Okay.
Dining out, it's about so much more than what's on your plate.
It really is.
It's cultural, it's social, it's even a chance for, some personal reflection.
I love that. It is like peeling back layers of an onion,
It really is.
We started with just like vocabulary.
Right.
Then we're into cultural differences.
Yeah.
And now we're at the core of it all, like the human element.
Exactly. And the more we get all those different layers,
Yeah.
the richer, the more enjoyable dining out becomes.
Couldn't agree more. I'm telling you, this deep dive has given me so much to think about.
That's what we like to hear.
I'll never look at a menu, a waiter, the same way again.
That's fantastic. Well, we hope it inspires you to, approach your next dining experience with a fresh perspective.
I will.
You never know what you might discover.
Food for thought indeed. Thanks for joining us on this delicious deep dive. Until next time, happy eating, everyone.